I'm going to just talk a little bit about, just putting this in a little bit of context here, and that was the headline today. Nearly half of Australian youth not undergoing training despite skilled worker shortage. That to me says disconnection and re-engagement or engagement. So if we put it in the US context, the next little bullet there says 35% of the students enrolled in community colleges in the US already have a 5-year degree. They've been to school with a master's or a bachelor's, and they're going back. Well, as we say sometimes, we prepare them for a place that doesn't prepare them for a place. And that happens quite a bit, and that's why they're back, and maybe we got something backwards. And then students in Ireland are opting out of college and going into trades, and why? Well, some of that is around, they have a 5th year in Ireland where students are going out on internships. And when they go out on these internships, they're going to the kind of Microsofts of the world, and they're spending a little time in a cubicle where they don't have the kind of autonomy that they need. And so when you have those trades, even though these are the kids who are passing their leaving certs, as they say in Ireland, they're going back to get that autonomy, to connect and get a sense of themselves. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. When you talk about disengagement, this was in the New Yorker last week. As you could see, it says 56% can't do the math, and 54% won't do the math. All right, add the numbers, please. Those of you who are only paying attention to the words, add the numbers. Even when students are getting A's in our schools, that doesn't mean they're connected. Students know the difference between real and fake. And they'll tell you right away, this is real to me, this is fake to me. Even as young as 3 and 2, they'll be able to tell you that. So I have a buddy. His name is Frank Wilson. He's a neurologist, dean of neurology at Stanford. He's retired now, and he left medicine. And I'm going to talk a little bit about all these doctors leaving medicine for the same reason that sometimes good educators are leaving education, because they can't really do what they wanted to do. He engaged musicians who had hand injuries, and you weren't allowed to tell you had a hand injury because it would end your career. And like a good doctor and like a good teacher, they started asking, tell me a little bit about yourself. And he heard all these pieces. And one story he heard that was very, very common was my teacher or my mentor or the conductor said, play it like this, not the way you're playing it. And when I listened to the recording of it, and they played it back to me, I said, that's not me. I know I played it, but that's not me. So they would emotionally disconnected from what they did. And there's a lot to that, and we're going to talk about the mind and the hand connection that's dissociated in schools for almost everybody. And then there's another syndrome called the Capgras syndrome. And the Capgras syndrome is, I got my brother here, and I've had a head injury. And I say, I know you look like him, you walk like him, you talk like him, you sound like him, but you're an imposter, you're not my brother. So there's once again this emotional disconnect that Frank plays with, that he sees adults as well as kids have all the time. They're emotionally disconnected from what they're doing. That's the real fake thing. So now, this is a presumption, and pardon me, but there's little capacity in the present system to really connect students to families and to greater community and themselves. That's the kind of work that we've done, and I'll explain our work a little bit. And as I have a friend who invented the hurricane nail, his name is Ed Sutt. Ed had a combined SAT score of 800 out of 1,600, and all he wanted to do as a kid was bang nails. He banged nails so much, and I did a podcast on him, that his hands used to swell up. His parents had a lot of money, sent him to private schools, he hated it. He goes out and becomes a carpenter, and then he goes back to school. And he's in, now I'm fast forwarding to Clemson in a PhD program. He goes down to a hurricane site. He looks, he sees the hurricane site. Everybody's there, they're all structural engineers. He goes, it's all about the nail. That was an object from his past. They said, you're crazy, it's all about the nail. He said, nope, it's all about the nail. He invents a nail that for $15 more to frame your entire house won't blow down in a hurricane and won't fall down in an earthquake. All right? Now, this nail looks like some kind of medieval weapon. It's got barbs coming out of it all over the place. Really, really cool-looking piece. But what he said was interesting was this. He said, I said, Ed, the nail industry must love you. He says, no, they hate me. I I said, what do you mean they hate you? He says, because for 100 years, and I was a carpenter for quite a while, and I used to bang the nails, and I said, these nails are crap. He used to say, well, look, the only people who were in control of the nail industry were the people who only cared how many nails are being produced. They only cared about efficiency. They never cared about how the nail performs on the job. I said, whoa, you sound like me. All right? Same problem, just a different place.